Alright, so in 2001, my mother was living in a house on 6th Street in Chapel, Nebraska because her house on 1st Street had black mold. So she rented out the house on 1st Street to me for a month for $200, which is less than she was paying in mortgage. Imagine that. The very next day, after I gave her the money, my stepdad come back. He wanted to know why I was in the house. He was throwing a fucking tantrum like a 5-year-old. Instead of telling Scott that I was renting the place, she played it off like I wasn't supposed to be there. That night I broke all the stuff in her china hutch. And then I walked over to Pump and Pantry. I got on the payphone and I called 911. Officer Dwight Pruss showed up. And unlike most cops, this cop actually did his job. So, before Miss Natalie was killed, I definitely set up to go exposing some fucking predators. I admitted all of my worst sins, including when I was 7 and accused my stepdad of molesting me. He didn't. He and I never had a friendly relationship after that. No matter how hard I tried, he wouldn't forgive me. Talks about Jesus, but has no forgiveness. But I did wrong, at least I admitted to it. There's something on my nose. I don't know what the hell it is. When I broke all that glass at my mom's house, all the stuff in her china hutch, I admitted to it. Why did I break all that stuff in the china hutch? Because my mom lied and stole from me. So Lana and Amanda, they didn't pay any attention to what happened before they decided to get back in contact with me. They didn't bother to find out that I'd already admitted to all of my worst sins on Facebook right before Natalie died. And that was one of them. So their excuse for lying to me and stealing my evidence was that I had broken my mom's glass. I tell you what, instead of being honest, telling me the truth, they did exactly what it is that got my mom's glass broke. Do I feel bad about breaking my mom's glass? No. My mom had 4 kids. She chose drugs and pretty things over all 4 of her kids. All 4 of her kids have been locked up for things that my mother did. They were locked up for the actions of their mother. Imagine that. And you wonder why I speak out so much against parents. You know, my dad wasn't the worst abuser between my 2 parents. My mom was. My dad hits a lot harder. Does that matter, though? When my dad got out of prison, he was done with cocaine. He started drinking instead. And getting abusive, which is why being around alcoholics bugs me so much. Plus, they're not listening, they're drunk. They're not going to help, they're too drunk. My dad doesn't drink anymore, though. I suppose that's a good thing. My dad yelled at me for quite a while at his house before I yelled back at him. And then he wanted to be pissed off that I yelled back. You know, there was a few people that I was yelling at for no reason. There was. There was reason. With Miss Peaches while I was in northern Wyoming here. I called up Miss Peaches when I was in Buffalo, and I was screaming at her. Was I screaming literally at her? Yes. Yes, I was fucking frustrated. Was I frustrated at her? No, I needed to vent. She understood that. She didn't take it personal. But there's different levels of screaming and for different reasons. See, Katie Cahill, she wanted to say that she would keep her word in exchange for me taking a video down. I made that video because she didn't keep her word. It don't make much sense for me to take it down. It's there for a purpose. It's there for a reason. Because I didn't get it done in 2 days, lady. It's been over 6 months. Literally over 6 months. Probably closer to a year than 6 months. Because you gave your word before last August. All of these people who saw this harassment going on and did nothing. Did nothing and did nothing. Telling me I can't get pissed off. I have to just remain calm and take it. Katie Cahill. Remain calm and take it. Except that I'm going to continue speaking out because you didn't keep your word. Except that you could have avoided this by keeping your word. You don't like how it feels, Katie? Well, how do you think it feels to me that I got railroaded in court because you and many people like you couldn't keep their word? Couldn't find the time. You had plenty of time for it to be a game, to be entertainment on your Facebook group. When it comes to actually doing something to affect social change, you sit on your ass and talk about it. I'm not talking about it. I'm fighting these bastards the best I can with limited resources. And people like you who lie to me. If you say you're going to do something and it takes you 2 weeks, well, that's a damn shame. When it takes you 6 months, you're a liar. No matter how busy you are, if you have time to get on those internet fucking bullshits and play around, then you got time to keep your word. Now, a lot of people, when I made an example, they went out of their way to play stupid. Like Amanda Engeline treating me like shit for playing video games and pretending that I played 4 hours a night. She watched Game of Thrones on a night that she didn't watch very much. She watched at least an hour and a half. She admitted that she wasn't in the room with me, yet she claimed that I played video games at least 4 hours a night. And then she wanted to pretend like I told her I was playing video games 4 hours a night. No, I told them exactly why I wasn't sleeping. I have nightmares. You can go back and look on my Facebook. Same thing. I told why it is that I don't sleep. Nightmares. It's fucked up having a nightmare that you're in a jail where people abused you and you wake up and you're still in that jail. There were lots of witnesses in the jails. Lots of witnesses. Whole pods full of witnesses. At least 60 people in each one of those pods. That's 60 witnesses that they refused to take a report from. You know what? Nearly every one of those inmates is going to remember me and why it is that I didn't sleep. Why? Because they didn't get to sleep either. During the day, the police blew me off and blew me off and blew me off and made every excuse they could not to do their goddamn jobs. So at night, I did the same thing that I have been trying to do since before Natalie died. Try to force an officer to take my goddamn report. There were officers there who are not allowed to investigate. Yet they pretended that they would anyway. There was one officer, he told me if officers refused to give me their names to let him know. I let him know and he blew me off. Imagine that. I've continued telling all of my worst sins. Everything that I have done wrong and taken wrong. I continue to admit it. By mouth. Because the Bible says to. I like the book. It's a good book. I liked Jesus. He was a good man. Unlike these Christians who came after me. Threatened my life. Threatened my friends' lives. Threatened my family's lives. I do it back and they don't fucking like it now, do they? Kaytee Cahill, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take your Facebook stuff down tomorrow, or your YouTube videos down tomorrow. But I'm not actually going to. I'm just going to leave them up indefinitely. Because you aren't going to keep your word indefinitely. If you keep your word, not only will I take them down, I'll apologize. I will say I'm sorry for calling you a liar. Then again, you have to prove that you aren't a liar. You haven't made a police report, so you are a liar.